Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, August 31, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the long range forecast for the month of September by the climate forecast system. We can see that there are a lot of yellows, gold and brown shades across portions of the Caribbean including Jamaica that represent below average rainfall for the month of September. And do we see consensus on the other three global models that we use for the monthly forecast? Let us take a look at the CANSIPs. We can see that the CANSIPs has Jamaica embedded in some white that represents some average amount of rainfall. Most of the below average rainfall seems to be to the south and west of the island. What about the NMME model? For the month of September, we can see something similar to what the CFS, the climate forecast system, is showing. Jamaica embedded in some yellows that represent some below average rainfall for the month of September. If we actually take a look at what the CARICOF is showing, that's the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, we can see that Jamaica along with Hispaniola and Puerto Rico is embedded in some white shades that represent average rainfall. So what the CARICOF is showing is more in line with what the CANSIPS is showing, and what the NMME and the climate forecast system are showing are somewhat identical in terms of the rainfall. We shall see which one of these models are more accurate. As it relates to the temperature forecast, the CARICOF is also showing for the month of September to November that we're going to be receiving some slight orange shades that represent some above normal temperatures across portions of Jamaica, with the more above normal temperatures to the west of the island, maybe across sections of Cayman Islands, with the slightly below average temperatures to the east of the island across sections of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. We'll see how that unfolds for the next 3 months. However, as it relates to what the Climate Prediction Center is showing, we can see that they are somewhat in agreement with what the CFS and the NMME models are showing in terms of the rainfall. We can see for the week of September 6 to 12 and September 13 to 19, we can see a lot of brown shades across the Caribbean including Jamaica, and we know the brown shades represent below average rainfall probability. However, we can also see that we have somewhat of a chance of some tropical cyclone formation probability for the next 2 weeks, as well as indicated by the red and whites and the reds across portion of the main development region. And this basically saying whatever is going to develop across the area between Africa and the Caribbean more than likely is going to be turning more towards the north. If we actually take a look at what the accumulated precipitation forecast for the Euro model and the GFS models are showing, we do see some amount of rainfall in store for Jamaica for the next 240 hours, and we do see that yes, we're doing way better in terms of the rainfall, way better than the Eastern Caribbean or the Northeastern Caribbean. That is maybe up to at least 2 inches of rainfall is possible, and we see that on both the Euro and the GFS, and we usually look for consensus when it comes to the rainfall certainty. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that right now we have a tropical wave that's passing across the island of Jamaica. Maybe that was what brought some of that rainfall to sections of eastern parishes in Jamaica today, spilling into sections of western parishes during the afternoon. You can also see another tropical wave right there to the east of the Caribbean, and we see multiple areas of disturbed weather. One tropical wave off the coast of Africa affecting the Cabo Verde Islands, and what's left of tropical storm Idalia, and tropical storm Hossein, not to mention tropical storm that was Franklin, or Hurricane Franklin that is. Alright, if we actually take a look at the newest National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, it's in line with what we just saw on the surface map Idalia, which is now a post-tropical cyclone, Franklin, still a hurricane, and Jose to the southeast of Franklin. And we also have numerous areas of disturbed weather that have somewhat of a chance of development within the next 7 days. The one that we're going to be keeping most of our attention on is this one right here. Let's see if we refresh the page if it's okay. So they just came out with an update. So it's still right here. It was just 20%. Now it's 30% chance of cyclone formation in the next 7 days. It says here tropical wave is expected to move off the west coast of Africa this weekend. Environmental conditions could support some gradual development of the system through the middle part of next week, while it moves westward to west-northwestward over the eastern and central portions of the tropical Atlantic. Alright, so it's definitely gonna be, forming, and more than likely it's gonna be moving more north to maybe miss the Caribbean region. And considering that we're in an El Nino year, it doesn't even make sense any of these systems make it into the Caribbean, as wind shear or the conditions might just not be favorable for development at all for these systems, which explains why the Caribbean has been so dry recently. Lots of dry weather taking place across majority of the Caribbean, including the Greater Antilles, Jamaica, with most of the activity outside of the Caribbean, and the El Nino is definitely to blame. Taking a look at the visible satellite images of the Caribbean and the North Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see all of those systems that we just saw on the surface map, as well as the National Hurricane Center's map. Idalia right there off the eastern US coast. To the east of Idalia, Tropical Storm Franklin. Then we have what's Tropical Storm Jose, and to the west of that, or the southwest of that area of development that could develop next, not to mention that other area of development right there off the coast of Africa. We don't see much in the way of clouds and rainfall. As we said, we have a tropical wave passing across Jamaica, but it is so dried out that we don't even see much cloud cover across the area at all. And we do see that other tropical wave right there to the east of the Caribbean that's about to bring some amount of rainfall to sections of the Windward Islands tomorrow. Alright, so let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's post on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok pages about the weather across Jamaica for today. So just a heads up for those persons who don't know by now, if we don't post a video on our YouTube page, there's definitely maybe a post that was made on one of our other social media platforms like this one right here, which stated that we would have received some amount of rainfall across sections of eastern and western Jamaica on Thursday afternoon. And we know eastern Jamaica encompasses the parishes of Portland, St. Andrews, St. Thomas, Kingston, basically those parishes in the county of Surrey, while western Jamaica encompasses those parishes in the county of Cornwall, including Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. And what ended up happening? A post was made during the afternoon highlighting the clouds bringing overcast skies, showers, and thunderstorms to sections of those very areas: eastern parishes, St. Thomas, Portland, even sections of maybe southeastern Westmoreland, or not Westmoreland, southeastern St. Mary might have gotten on some of that rainfall as well. Not to mention sections of western Jamaica, so sections of northern St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and even inland areas of some central parishes might have gotten on some of that rainfall. So sections of northern St. Catherine, far northern Clarendon, far southern St. Anne might have gotten on some of that as well. And we actually saw what took place today. If we take a look at the visible satellite images, we saw those clouds being pushed from east to west as usual. Then we had all of those clouds popping up, becoming cumulonimbus clouds the more west they went. And we can see it better on the infrared satellite images up to now, and we can see that burst of convection right there across southeastern St. Mary, just as we mentioned earlier, western Portland. Right now, most of it is clearing out. Most of it is off to the west of the island. And we can see it on the Doppler radar images. If we actually reload these images, we can see most of that rainfall off to the west of the island. Alright, if we take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology's precipitation for the past 24 hours, we can see where we indeed had that rainfall, sections of eastern Jamaica, inland areas of some central parishes, and western Jamaica, just like what we saw on the satellite images just now. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we're 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, and as usual, as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower. As relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, both maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing 18 on Friday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Friday. And we can still see Jamaica embedded in a lot of orange colors that represent some above normal temperatures. We're still embedded in that warm air mass that's taking shape across the Caribbean. That's bringing a lot of warm temperatures to the region. But by Sunday, all of that should be clearing out to make way for more average, more whites and maybe some slight blues that represent average or below average temperatures. Alright, so as it relates to the temperatures for tomorrow, we can see that it's up to at least 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures being forecasted by the Euro and the GFS for 1 p.m. on Friday. And we know the average temperatures for the month of August is about 91 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about the equivalent of 32 degrees Celsius. So if we should be receiving above normal temperatures for tomorrow, anywhere from 32 to 35 degrees Celsius at most. Alright, so let us take a look at the dry air map. We can see that the driest air is represented by the reds and white within those reds as indicated by the key at the bottom. We do see some slight yellows across portions of the Caribbean, not so much across the Jamaica area at this time. However, as it relates to the Saharan dust for 2 p.m. on Friday, we do see some slight brown shades that represent some amount of Saharan dust, but the most intense Saharan dust is right there across portions of the Eastern Caribbean for 2 p.m. on Friday, as well as portions of the main development region. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see Jamaica surrounded by some blue colors which represent up to 1.5 meter wave height, and that's due to the fact that we're going to be receiving more average wind speeds, up to 20 knot wind speeds as indicated by the greens that represent 20 knots, even some yellows in there maybe across the far south of the island that represent up to 25 knots. But where does all of this air pile up? Where do we see those darker shades of blues that represent the least amount of wind? Wherever we have the least amount of wind, we know that we're going to be having all of those clouds, those cumulus clouds that push from east to west, becoming cumulonimbus clouds. And then during the afternoon, we have that afternoon thunderstorm, as usual with that diurnal convection. And with the upper level wind shear coming in from the east northeast for tomorrow on both the Euro and the GFS, more than likely whatever happens tomorrow in terms of afternoon convection will be blown off towards the south and west, making way for more rainfall across sections of some central western parishes as well as some southern parishes, especially some southern parishes. So whatever upper level clouds, whatever thunderstorms develop, just like what we had today where we saw those thunderstorms being streaked off or pushed off towards the west because of that southeasterly wind shear, we're going to be having somewhat similar wind shear tomorrow, but it's going to be coming more from the northeast. So the east northeast, making way for more overcast skies, showers and thunderstorms across sections of some southern parishes. And if we actually take a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, these maps from the Euro and the GFS small by are actually showing 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. We do see those blue shades that represent rainfall. Where do we see it? Across sections of some central and the western parishes, just like what we mentioned earlier, especially across some southern parishes. Look at all of those greens and oranges across portions of maybe St. Elizabeth, Manchester. We can clearly see that the Euro model is a bit more robust than the GFS model. GFS showing more darker shades of blues. Either way, there's definitely some rainfall in store, and with that upper level wind shear coming in from the east northeast, it makes sense that southern Jamaica will be receiving the brunt of that afternoon convection. We do see some consensus with the rainfall forecast by both the Euro and the GFS smalls. Maybe not so much in terms of consensus with the where, but definitely some rainfall in store for Jamaica for tomorrow. The Euro showing up to 0.56 of an inch of rainfall for the total. The GFS showing up to 0.4 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see exactly what happens. Either way, there's rainfall in the forecast, and we're gonna be, happy that it's actually happening, considering that we're experiencing hydrological drought at this time. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see a lot of clouds bringing showers and thunderstorms in sections of Panama, Costa Rica. Some clouds about to make their way into sections of the Windward Islands. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images across the northeastern Caribbean for today, we can see that yes, we indeed had some amount of rainfall across sections of Guadeloupe, Dominica, St. John, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Martin. Even sections of western Puerto Rico got in on some afternoon convection as well. Even Martinique got in on some amount of rainfall. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, we do see some rainfall to the east and west of Barbados. We indeed had some amount of rainfall across sections of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada. Maybe some passing showers, maybe even tonight across sections of Grenada. Tobago and Trinidad also getting in on some amount of rainfall, especially on the eastern side of those islands. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see a lot of rainfall across sections of Florida, sections of Cuba, sections of Mexico, sections of Honduras, and we can also see some rainfall across sections of Guyana and Suriname. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, both the Euro and the GFS are showing that 1 p.m. on Friday has above normal temperatures all across the Caribbean as indicated by those orange colors. While as it relates to the Saharan dust, only sections of the eastern portion of the island should be receiving some amount of slight hazy weather brought about by the Saharan dust. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see some slight purples to the far south of Jamaica that indicate up to 2-meter wave heights. And that's due to the fact that the winds are going to be strongest to the south of the island, up to 25 knot winds, while it makes sense that we do see higher amount of wave heights, 3-meter wave heights or more, across the waters east of the United States, and that's due in part by the systems that are churning up the waters out there, including Idalia and tropical storm, maybe Jose, as well as Hurricane Franklin. As it relates to the rainfall forecast for tomorrow, we can see even up to 1 inch of rainfall across sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, sections of Florida getting in on some of that rainfall, sections of the Bahamas, sections of the Belize area, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia. We do see some rainfall in store for sections of Venezuela, just some spotty rainfall, and we do see some across sections of Venezuela. However, we see more in the way of rainfall across sections of those islands that we just mentioned that are going to be affected by that tropical wave. They have already started to be affected. So sections of Montserrat southward, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, definitely in for some amount of rainfall for tomorrow. We even see some more rainfall in store for sections of Hispaniola and western Puerto Rico right there. And we do see that both models are showing somewhat similar trends in terms of the rainfall forecast for now up until 10 p.m. on Friday. I know that when we see consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.